Crazy facts about the Polish Army. After regaining independence in 1918, Poland declared war on only one country, Japan. This happened 4 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. The then Prime Minister of Japan, Hideki Tojo, commented on the declaration of war by Poland as follows: "We do not accept Poland's challenge. The Poles, fighting for their freedom, only declare war on us under pressure from the United Kingdom." Japan was one of the first countries in the world to recognize Poland's independence in 1919. Before World War II, in the 1930s, Poland established quite specific relations with Japan. Representatives of the imperial family unofficially visited the country on the Vistula River, bilateral trade agreements were signed, and both intelligence agencies cooperated most intensively. Both Polish and Japanese intelligence agencies gave priority to obtaining data on the USSR. The situation was a bit complicated. The Japanese were allies of the Germans, but after the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, Tokyo maintained unofficial relations with the Poles. The entry of the Wehrmacht into Poland in 1939 was received in Tokyo with sadness. The Polish embassy in the Japanese capital was closed under German pressure in October 1941. Despite the severance of diplomatic relations, both countries nevertheless maintained intelligence cooperation. The Japanese shared with the Poles, among other things, information about the eastern areas of the USSR. It was also worth noting that Major Jan Kowalewski helped organize the Japanese Radio Intelligence Service. This military man was known for breaking codes during the Polish-Bolshevik War. The Poles also received information from the Japanese about the approximate date of the German attack on the Soviet Union. This news was later passed on to the British. Interestingly, Polish intelligence agents moved with the passports of the Japanese Empire of Manchukuo puppet state created by Japan in 1932. Poland and Japan were formally in conflict with each other until February 1957, when the agreement to restore normal relations was signed. It happened in New York, 12 years after the end of World War II. For almost 16 years of the formal conflict, the Polish and Japanese armies did not struggle with each other in any battle, which does not mean that the Poles did not fight the Japanese. The most famous figure here is the pilot, Major Witold Urbanowicz, commander of Squadron 303, who shot down several Japanese planes in the Far East while serving in the Flying Tiger Squadron, the American volunteer group. On December 11, 1943, he fought alone against 6 Japanese planes, of which he shot down 2. 2 Polish passenger ships, Pulaski and Sobieski, also found their way to the Far East. They were converted into transport ships that carried British soldiers across the ocean. Born on 21 June 1912, Kazimierz Leski is known for at least 25 journeys across German-held Europe, usually in the uniform of a Wehrmacht Major General. He was a Polish engineer, as well as co-designer of the Polish submarines ORP-5 and ORP-Orzeł, a fighter pilot, and an intelligence and counterintelligence officer. Entering the Second World War as a pilot in the Polish Air Force, he was shot down by the Red Army on the 17th of September 1939 near Chortkiv. Captured and interrogated, he soon managed to escape to Lvov before crossing the new Soviet-German border of peace, and in October 1939 returned to Warsaw, where he joined the Home Army and served there as an intelligence and counterintelligence agent in one of Poland's most secretive resistance groups known as the Musketeers. As head of counterintelligence in one of Poland's most secretive World War II resistance groups, Kazimierz Leski was high up on the Gestapo's list of most wanted. With direct contact to Britain's secret intelligence service, the group regularly risked their lives to send reports to London, including in one case, rolls of microfilm with photos of a German military buildup near the border with the Soviet Union, indicating that a German invasion of the Soviet Union was being planned. His most important achievements included a complete list of German military units, their insignia, numbers, and dispositions. He and his cell also prepared detailed reports on the logistics and transport of German units bound for the Eastern Front, and on the state of bridges, railways, and roads in German-held Europe. As head of a unit within the Musketeers known as 666, Leski was responsible for organizing courier routes along the Western Front. A master of disguise and fluent in 6 languages, he regularly traveled first class on train lines dressed as a German general. In 1941, Leski made his first trip as a courier to France. He posed as a lieutenant of the Wehrmacht. However, he decided to promote himself to the rank of general major for all other trips to be able to travel first class, as his wounds from September 1939 made it impossible for him to travel in crowded third-class railway cars. As General Julius von Hallmann, he managed to cross Europe several times in a row without his true identity being revealed. His excellent forged documents also allowed him to witness several events he did not plan. In 1942, he visited the Atlantic Wall construction site. He managed to obtain the fortification plans, which made it easier for the Allied forces to land on the beaches of Normandy. It was possible because he convinced one of the passengers in his car that his superiors might want to build a similar line of fortifications in Ukraine. On another occasion, he visited the field staff of Field Marshal Gerd von Wulmstadt. Apart from his service in intelligence and counterintelligence, he also took over a cell focused on smuggling information and people in and out of German prisons in occupied Poland. When the Warsaw Uprising began in 1944, he fought as a commander of an infantry battalion called Bradl, fighting with distinction in the area of the Square of 3 Crosses in Warsaw city center. In recognition of his gallantry, Leski was promoted to captain and received several honors, including the silver Virtuti Militari, the gold and silver crosses of merit with swords, and 3 crosses of valor. When the war ended, he gradually dismantled his underground net and moved to Gdansk. As a member of the Freedom and Independence anti-communist resistance, under the false name Leon Yuknevich, he became the first managing director of the ruined Gdansk shipyard. His tasks included reconstructing the shipyard, which had been devastated by Allied air raids and by the withdrawing Germans. In August 1945, he received the communist regime's highest civilian award, but later the same day was arrested by the secret police, who had discovered his true identity. Charged with attempting to overthrow the regime, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The sentence was later commuted to 6 years. However, in 1951, he was not released. Instead, he was later charged with having collaborated with the German occupation forces and was held in solitary confinement and brutally tortured. He spent 7 years on death row before being rehabilitated in 1956. After the hell in prison, he couldn't find a job, as Poland's communist authorities continued to view the former Home Army soldiers with suspicion. Eventually, he became a member of the Polish Academy of Sciences. Awarded a doctorate, for political reasons, he could not receive the rank of professor for his work on computer analysis of natural language codes. Nevertheless, he continued his scientific work, publishing 7 books and over 150 other publications. In 1995, for aiding Jews during World War II, he was awarded the title of Righteous Among the Nations by the Yad Vashem Institute. Besides all of his merits, he remained largely unknown in Poland until in 1989 he published his memoirs, A Checkered Life, Memoirs of a Home Army Intelligence and Counterintelligence Officer. After his death on 27 May 2000, he was buried with military honors at Warsaw's Powalski Cemetery.